Welcome to a walkthrough of the admin area of DigiGreet. The screen you see now is the dashboard that you'll see when you first log in, and as you can see you've got visitors, contractors and staff on site. If you just click on the circle or use the check-in here to go to the visitor page, you can see a breakdown of the actual visitors. The people who are actually on premises are up at the top of the list and they're ticked to say that they're on premises, with the others being listed later on. If you click on Ed's name, then it takes us into his profile, and as you can see there's various fields which we can fill in if we want to. We don't have to. We also have a personal welcome message or personal checkout message if we want to overrule the company default message. We have a sign out type, so we don't have people clogging up the system if they forget to sign out. So every day we need to make sure that the system is reset correctly. So there are two trigger points which might allow the system to sign someone out. The first is a time of day. So if your organisation shuts at a certain time and you have a walkthrough and are confident that the building is empty, then you just need to set a time after that to clear anyone who hasn't signed out. So for example, 9 o'clock in the evening, if anyone is still signed in at 9 o'clock at night, then the system can automatically sign them out. The other trigger point is a certain number of hours after they arrive. So if you have a shift-based pattern, then it's more sensible to choose a number of hours after they arrive. So if you say, for example, 15 hours after they arrive, if they're still signed in, then we will sign them out. The alternative to the system signing them out is that we can send an administrator an email. So if you're not sure that they're going to be out of the building, then it's best to get an email sent to someone who can do a manual check, make sure that they're off the premises, and then sign them out if necessary. The security questions answered relates to the fire safety policy which you saw in the other video. So you answer the question, we log when you answer that video, and in the settings page you can define how long you want that answer to last for. So in this case, as you can see, it's set to a week, and so I can come and go as often as I like without being asked that question again, but in a week's time I will be asked that question, and then my security questions answered date will be updated. Of course, you can set that yourself to a year or 2 years or whatever is suitable for you. If we now go to the staff page, you can see this is very similar to the visitor page, with the exception of an additional column. So you noticed that there was a drop down list for me to select the member of staff that I was here to visit. Not all staff might receive visitors, so if they don't receive visitors, then you just untick them and they then won't appear in that drop down list, so that it's a nice neat list for people to select from. As in the case of the visitor page, you can filter by month or by their name. So if somebody's parked badly, you can put their car registration in and find out who owns that car, or their postcode, or their email, or their name, just to make sure that you can find the person that you're looking for. If you're after a certain date range, if there was an incident that you need to look into, you just put the date range in here, and then that will show you all the people who were on site in that range. You have managed staff or managed visitors from the visitor page, where you can manually add a person to the system. So for example, if you've got a VIP guest arriving and you want to register them before they arrive, so that all they have to do is type in their name, you just click on add a visitor on the visitor page. Obviously staff have to be pre-registered. In the first instance during setup, we'll import the list for you, so we'll send you the sample spreadsheet which you can fill out, and then we'll just import it for you, but you can do that at any time yourself anyway. So if you have a very large increase in staff, or merging with another company, or opening a new wing or something, then you can import a new list, but most of the time you'll probably simply click on add a member of staff and add their details in manually. There's not that many details. Again, if you click on their name, you can see their profile. You can see that they also have a personal welcome or checkout message if need be. Again, you can set a default to overrule the default sign out time, and here you can set a barcode or PIN code. So I mentioned about signing in, so you can sign in with a fob or magnetic card, in which case the ID of the card or fob would go here, or you can set a PIN number for them to type themselves when they arrive if typing their name is a bit long-winded. The contractor page and the fire drill check are very similar to the other pages that you've already seen. So if I just talk you through admin, The admin users page simply allows you to add more users to the system who can then access the admin side. The document list page allows you to upload documents for contractors such as insurance or qualifications, especially useful if they're doing dangerous work and you need to make sure that you've ticked all the boxes for health and safety and due diligence. And you can then assign the contractor to a company, and you can set expiry dates, and you can review the documents for the contractors to make sure that they are indeed what they're purporting to be. Zones is useful if you've got a large geographic site, so you've got different buildings maybe, and you want to know where on site people are. Especially useful if you've got different health and safety zones, so if you've got manufacturing as well as laboratory or R&D as well as an office, then clearly from a health and safety perspective they're very different areas, and you might want to know where people are. The security questions, as I mentioned about the fire security policy, you can set as many as you like. You can distinguish between visitor and contractor, and you can set your own answers, so you can really drill down and get the information that you want. The daily visit summary is simply that. It lists all the days that visitors are on site and gives you a total, and you can click on any given day and just see the people who are in on that day in time. The staff and contractor report is similar, but from a person perspective. It can give you a total or for each individuals, and if you click on that individual you can specify a date range, and that's particularly useful for timesheets. So as you can see at the bottom here, you've got a total, and you can also download it to Excel in case you need to work with another system. Default messages, as I mentioned already, you've got the welcome and the departure page that you can tweak and put text, image or videos, but there's lots of places on the site that you can tweak, such as the email that you send to staff when their visitor has arrived. So lots of places where you can change the default text if you're not happy with it. Companies is then linked to the enhanced contractor management, so if you go out to tender for say cleaning and you award a contract to a firm for 3 years, you can specify how long they should be allowed on your premises, and you can set expiry times, and there's a management process around making sure that doesn't expire without you realising, so you get prompts and reminders just to make sure that everything's running smoothly. If they do expire, then any contractors linked to that company will automatically be blocked from coming in, just to make sure that you have the correct staff on site. Temporary IDs is useful for door entry systems, so you can assign a fob to a person on a temporary basis. You can decide how long you want to set it for them. So for example, you've got a plumber coming in to fix a boiler who's coming in and out all day to get tools from their van. They can use the fob, but if they overrun and the job continues tomorrow, if they try and use the fob tomorrow, you'll need to reassign it because they won't automatically be allowed in. The settings page is your main configuration area, so it loads with the must do tab, which details the things that we really want you to look at. Most of the things here are fairly self-explanatory. It's worth pointing out that the autocomplete for visitors is often turned up to say 99 because there's a potential breach of GDPR if a visitor's name is coming up when someone starts typing in their letters of their name. So quite often that is set to 99, but it's there for you to choose what you want to do, and you can choose something different for staff and contractors. As I mentioned earlier about automatically signing out, you can send an email to an administrator if you want to, and of course the fire drill page needs to have a security password, and that's where you set it. The registration form, again fairly self-explanatory. You can set your priority and preferences here. You can separate visitors and contractors, decide whether the field should be forced an entry or not, so for example postcode must be entered, and you've got 3 custom areas in case you want to ask something that's less common. You can print badges, so you just need to tick that to turn badge printing on. You might want to have a photo on the badge, or you might want to have a logo. Quite often people are a bit sensitive about having their photo. And you might want to allow barcodes onto the badges so that you can scan the badges, particularly useful if people are coming and going frequently. ID verification is useful if you require checking of ID for all of the people coming on site. So the receptionist would check the ID, make sure they were happy with it, and if they were, they would give a code to the person coming in for them to type in and therefore be allowed into the system. Lastly, more stuff. There's various fields here. If I just walk you through them because they might be slightly less obvious. Restrict access to this IP. That would make sure that the signing in page was only accessible from your network. Enable document management would turn on enhanced contractor management. You can delay the welcome and departure message for visitors and staff if you want to put something a bit more involved. In our example, we had hello and goodbye, which doesn't take very long to read, but if you put a lot of information, then obviously you need to increase that time. Allow visitors to pre-register. This would allow you to send a link so that visitors could register from their office or home, which means that when they arrive, all they need to do is type in their name. Particularly useful for bottlenecks if you've got large groups coming in at a similar time. A visitor must be coming in to see members of staff already in the system. That changes the staff here to visit text box into a drop-down list, so they have to select from the list. Show the visitor a warning if the staff is out. So if you are using staff sign-in, then you probably want to have that ticked, and if someone is off sick or not in for any other reason, then at least they get a warning and they go and speak to reception and work out what's going on. Send an email instead of auto sign out. As I mentioned with the auto sign out, you can send an email or automatically sign them out, and you can choose between disabling it, setting the hours after they arrive, or indeed the time of day. And lastly, you can tweak the text on the start page if you're not happy with the initial text. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you very much.